Hi, this is Mothretra. Today I wanted to show you the process of saving and recalling patches using my JX-8P Synth programmer, which is a Max for Live device. Since it's integrated within Ableton Live, it gives you flexibility. You can utilize two different methods to save and recall patches. Number one is you can drag and drop that Max for Live device to which you've edited and are happy with a particular patch and a sound. You can drag and drop that into the browser, or you can use the hot swap function and the little disk icon to save it to the browser. And basically it ends up in your user library. So I wanted to demonstrate both of those techniques. They both have their pros and cons, but they both work as well as you'd expect for basically saving an instance of the Max for Live device. So it saves everything about it. And you can use that to recall it and then, or bring it into your session, then use the recall button to send the data from the Max for Live device to the hardware, and therefore you get your sound back. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that now. So simple session, I already have set up, simple project within Ableton Live. I've already created a MIDI track that's ready to go, and I'll drag the instance of the programmer within this track in a little bit, but I've already set up an external instrument. My particular synthesizer is set on MIDI channel 5, so I have it preset up, and then the audio from my interface to which is connected to the JX-8P. So first thing I do is bring in an instance of the synth programmer. Mine is saved within my user library under Max for Live Sorted, which is a folder that I created to help organize. And I'll go ahead and drag an instance in there. And we see that it's been instantiated. I'll click it to open it. And now I have my synth programmer. First thing right off the rip is that I'll set the MIDI channel within the programmer also to the MIDI channel 5. And if I hit some keys, I should hear some sound. Okay, that sounds terrible. First thing that we need to do is initialize the synthesizer so we have a clean slate to begin with. So we click the init button here, sends all of the parameters cleanly and to their default values to what an init patch should be. So if we hit some keys there, it should be a lot cleaner. Fat fingering the keys there, but you get the idea. That's about an init of a patch as you can expect. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and make some quick edits here and just bang out a quick patch here so we hear some differences. All right, we got a muffled chord patch there. Sounds terrible, but it's at least something to demonstrate with. So I'll go ahead and name the patch. And the idea here is just to name something that will be saved with the Max for Live device so you can tell your patches apart. It doesn't actually send the data to the synth. So we'll just call it, and we'll call it Pad Terrible. Pad Terrible. And so we have that, hit return, and it latches it in. But then the other important thing we want to do is rename the actual instance of the Max for Live device to the same name. You can name it whatever you want, but I recommend that it's the same patch title to help keep it straight. So we'll call this one Pad Terrible. All right, we got Pad Terrible. Now, the first thing that you can do to save this patch is we can drag and drop it into the browser. So I created a folder here called JX-8P patches. And I'll go ahead and just click that open. I have some other saved patches in there. And I'll go ahead and drag this in there. And it'll save it. And you can rename it if you want. But it should automatically come up with the Pad Terrible title that you put in previously. Hit enter and it saves it. The other way I can save this patch, we'll just make some further changes here so we can tell the two apart. We'll make it really terrible sounding. Okay, so we got the LFO wobble in there. It's even worse. So we'll call this Pad Terrible the Second. Pad Terrible the Second. Rename it here. Pad Terrible the Second. Now, we'll go ahead and use the disk icon to go ahead and save it into the browser. This is identified in the manual. So we'll go ahead and click that. It'll automatically send it to the location to which the Max for Live device is located. So if we were to go back to when I first grabbed it from the other folder called Max for Live device or Max M4L sorted, and if I were to hit that, make the changes here, hit the icon, disk save icon, it will save it and open up that particular location right in here in editors, and it would stick it there. But since I already dragged and dropped the instance into the JX-8P patches folder, when I hit the saved icon there, it went to that folder. So it made it really convenient for this instance. So let's go ahead and complete that process. It saved it because I clicked her out too fast, but let's delete that one. But you can see it worked. And I'll go ahead and hit the save icon. We got it named here, Pad Terrible II. And hit the icon, and it put it in there. Hit return, it saves it. So, of course, the patch is going to be the same. So I'll go ahead and just demonstrate how this is recalled now. So if I wanted to bring in a patch that I saved and recall it, I'm just going to type this, we'll just say back to init, and click the init button. And when it's all done, click the press keys. We're back to an init patch. So now, if I wanted to hot swap in my previous save, I would hit the hot swap icon here, and it'll open up the folder to which the last save was performed, and I'll bring in Pad Terrible II. Double click. It loaded it in here. As you can see, it's now called Pad Terrible. And now I'll just turn off the hot swap function. And now essentially my Max for Live device has been replaced with the Pad Terrible II's version. Now, it doesn't automatically load all of the parameters. It attempts to send the parameters to the synthesizer, but it doesn't do it 100%. This is to be expected. So that is where the recall button comes into play. So I'll go ahead and press some keys before hitting this recall button. You'll hear what I mean. So remember, this pad had a really bad LFO wobble to it, but I don't hear it. But it did change some of the oscillators and change some of the parameters there. Maybe the filter, maybe not. It's like I said, it's a little dodgy. It's just the way Ableton handles it. It's slow communication. It's not instant from the live interface to the synthesizer, and therefore you kind of get random effects. So hit the recall button to send the save parameters in the live device out to the synthesizers. We'll do that now and wait for it to complete. Okay, it's doing its thing. You won't see any action taking place on the interface because everything's already set up to where it needs to be. But now if I press the keys, I should hear the same patch that I had before with that really wonky LFO. And there it is. So we saved and we recalled a patch using both the drag and drop and the... So we saved a patch using the drag and drop, and we recalled that patch using the hot swap. Now, what if we wanted to just drag a patch into the device window and play it? So we can do that also. It makes it really easy. So for demonstration purposes, I'll hit the init again. Init back. I'll go ahead and delete this instance, and I'll go ahead and drag in that patch. It creates the instance I can open up. We see that it's Pad Terrible II again. Now I'll play some keys to show you that it really didn't send all of the parameters to be expected. Kind of did it there. I'm surprised. Sometimes you get mixed results, but to ensure all the parameters get sent to the synthesizer, always hit that recall button. And now it's done. And it worked out pretty good there. So I've demonstrated how to save and recall a patch by dragging and dropping. Now, one of the interesting and very versatile things you can do is utilizing the drag and drop technique. Now you can create device chains or device groups that integrate the synth programmer into other effects. So for example, let's go back to my user folder, and I have some pre-saved patches. So I'm just going to delete all this. Now I got a clean track. And let's go ahead and bring in something that I've worked on previously to show what I'm talking about. So let's call this Wings and Things Full. This is a patch that I made. Drag and drop it, and you can see I have some various effects that are lined up to this. I got Echo Boy and Vintage Verb. Let's bring up my interface. I'm going to hit Recall. And go ahead and play some notes. So you get the idea. You can add whatever effects you want as long as it's in a group. Just make sure it's named appropriately. Patch name, window name up here for the device. And then just to keep things fully straight, change the title on your group. Therefore, when you're all done, drag and drop it, just like this. We'll just call this Wings and Things Full 3. Drag it in there. There it is. And I can recall that back. Let's say, here's another one here, Wings and Things Fire. So let me get rid of this instance here. I got Verb. I have Decimort for some crunch, and Echo Boy again. So let's see what that sounds like. I'll go ahead and recall it to ensure that it's sent to the hardware. Make it a little louder here. So there you go. There's a lot of versatility in the drag and drop functionality of saving and recalling patches. I hope this was helpful to you. Thanks for watching.